Paul Skenes.
Paul Skenes.
Paul Skenes.
Paul Skenes.
Paul Skenes
is kind of a big deal. The reigning NL Rookie of the Year is the heavy betting favorite to win National League Cy Young. Within just 1 year, Skenes went from college student to unquestionable top 3 starter in Major League Baseball. He's a top 10 MLB player, he's dating Livy Dunn, and he's the first Pirates superstar since Andrew McCutchen was the MVP. And he's not the only one. He's merely the first of an upcoming crop of pitching monsters to make a name for himself in the Steel City. But the Pirates are about to waste it all. A cocktail of terrible decision-making from the front office and stingy ownership have kept the Pirates squarely in the fight for 4th place in their division for over 30 years now. A fight they tend to lose. I'll explore their glaring flaws in process soon enough, and I'll need some help to do so. But first, I need you to understand just how elite this Pirates pitching staff is about to be. The obvious starting point is their ace. Everyone knows Paul Skenes is great, but I feel like his breakneck ascent has somehow been understated. Much like his biggest rookie comp, Steven Strasburg, Skenes went undrafted out of high school. That's a bit disingenuous, since the draft was only 5 rounds long that year due to COVID. But it's a good narrative, so I'm running with it. Skenes was committed to the 5th coolest branch of the US military, the Air Force Academy, as a 2-way player. Even if you know that he was playing both ways back then, I bet you didn't realize just how dominant he was at the plate. He was a reliever as a freshman, only throwing 26 innings and 18 appearances. As a batter, he put up a nearly 1,200 OPS in 220 plate appearances. Skenes moved to the rotation in 2022, throwing 15 dominant starts and continuing to mash with his bat. He won the John Olerud Award for the best 2-way player in the nation. So what position did he play when he wasn't pitching? He mostly DH'd, which you'd expect, but he also caught 30 games across his 2 seasons with Air Force. A full-time catcher with a 1. OPS would have been notable on its own, but that wasn't even the best part of his game. He transferred to LSU in 2023, dedicating himself solely to pitching, and he absolutely dominated. Skenes set the LSU and SEC single-season strikeouts record, won National Player of the Year, and led the Tigers to a national championship title. Easily the biggest name in college baseball that I can remember from my 23 years on this earth. He was so impressive in his first season as a full-time pitcher that the Pirates picked him 1st overall in an absolutely stacked draft class. He had a triple-digit fastball with elite run, a slider that could touch the 90s, an occasional get-me-over curveball, and an alright changeup. Skenes' pre-draft detractors pointed to his fastball shape as an issue. In college ball, 100 miles per hour is 100 miles per hour, and 100 generates strikeouts at that level. But in the majors, not every fastball is made the same. Some felt like his fastball's shape, moving a ton arm side but with below average IVB, wouldn't miss many MLB bats. His fastball was his best pitch in college, and he really only had 1 good secondary, so there were understandable concerns. But Skenes showed up to spring training in 2024 with a newly filled bag. He broke up his slider into 2 distinct pitches that year. Skenes threw a traditional slider and a sweeper that's about 2 miles per hour slower with nearly an extra foot of break on average. The sweeper plays off the slider, generating a ton of whiffs when batters anticipate the more cutter-like action. But the biggest piece by far, a pitch he added in the offseason then threw nearly 30% of the time in 2024, was the splinker. Half splitter, half sinker, at 94 miles per hour, it's the perfect bridge pitch between his changeup and his four-seamer. The splinter looks just like the fastball out of the hand, breaking horizontally the same way, but ends up over a whole foot lower. It's probably a top 5 starting pitcher offering in the entire league, generating whiffs and some of the softest contact imaginable. In a vacuum, it's true that Skenes doesn't have an elite strikeout fastball. It would have been okay because anything in the triple digits is still hard to hit, but it wouldn't have been enough to be the best pitch for an ace. Analysts were valid to point that out, but with the repertoire he's developed in just 2 seasons as a full-time pitcher, his fastball is elite at working off his other offerings. Having to anticipate 100 miles per hour, then adjust to one of 2 other arm side offerings and 3 glove side offerings, all of which are at distinct velocity thresholds, is next to impossible for a batter. Skenes' MLB debut was easily the most anticipated since Strasburg 14 years earlier. He was electric, though the Cubs got to him for 3 runs in 4 innings. Skenes hasn't thrown a worse game since. He exited 2 separate starts with at least 6 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts, and no hits allowed. He allowed over 3 earned runs just once as a rookie, finishing the season with a sub-2 ERA in 133 innings. And just as a reminder, this was his first season ever pitching on pro-level 4 days rest. Skenes won Rookie of the Year in one of the most competitive classes ever and finished 3rd in Cy Young voting despite not debuting until mid-May. He's already a consensus top 3 starter in MLB. Unless you ask the Shredder. He's far and away the biggest favorite to win National League Cy Young, and if he's healthy in 2025, I really can't imagine it being anyone but him. And of course, he's not done developing yet. He's been working on a low 90s cutter this offseason to use on the inner half against lefties. It's possible that we see Skenes with a true 7-pitch mix this year, when he only had 2 or maybe 3 high-usage pitches before being drafted. He's still only 22 years old right now. He's already the best, he'll continue to get better, and the Pirates have 5 more years of club control before he hits free agency and makes about $500 million. But as I mentioned earlier, he's far from being the only big-time arm they'll waste. But before we take a look at the rotation of the future, here's a message from today's sponsor, Arena Club. The thrill of knowing a Bryce Harper rookie card or your favorite Pokemon might be at the bottom of a pack. That was childhood cinema. If you want to hop back into collecting or feel the thrill of ripping packs again, Arena Club's slab packs are for you. Slab packs bring modern digital convenience to one of my most nostalgic hobbies. Pick between Pokemon or your favorite sport, and let the packs rip right here online. Let's see, what do we got? The Martian, let's go! Every time you rip a slab pack, Arena Club makes you an instant offer for your card. 90% of the estimated value right on the spot. After your pull is revealed, it's immediately placed in your vault for trading or selling. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and the clear hit rates for each card. You can also submit your own cards for grading at Arena Club. The grading process is accurate, fast, and transparent, with a full explanation for how your card was graded. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack at arenaclub.com/ATB when you use code ATB at checkout. That's arenaclub.com/ATB and use code ATB for 20% off. Thanks again, Arena Club. Jared Jones is the next most notable name of the Pirates pitching staff. Jones was part of the same high school class as Skenes, and he was drafted by the Pirates in the 2nd round of the 2020 draft. From 2021 to 2023, Jones rose through the minors. He never stuck out in terms of ERA, but the Pirates liked his stuff, so they continued promoting him. With a full season of high minors experience under his belt, the Pirates gave him a real shot to make the team in spring of 2024. He went 16 1/3 innings without allowing an earned run, earning the 3rd spot in their opening day rotation. Jones lit the world on fire for his first 7 MLB starts, striking out 52 batters while walking just 5 and keeping his ERA near 250. He fell back to earth a bit his next couple of months. Then he went on the IL with a lat strain in July. When he returned in August, he struggled a bit to close out the year. He had solid numbers for a rookie in 2024, but there's plenty of room for improvement. The main thing I love about Jared Jones' repertoire is his four-seamer. It too sits in the high 90s, but contrary to Skenes' fastball, it gets pretty good ride. In a vacuum, it's more dominant than Skenes' fastball, but Skenes is compensated by throwing 5 other pitches, and that's Jones' biggest shortcoming. He only has one go-to secondary. His His changeup and his curveball aren't bad per se, but he only threw them 15% of the time combined last year. Jones's bullet slider is a great pitch, sitting in the upper 80s and generating elite whiff numbers and weak contact. But because batters only need to look for one of two pitches, Jones was less effective when the scouting reports caught up. He threw nearly 60% of his four-seamers in the zone, and as the year went on, he got fewer and fewer whiffs. Jones added a sinker going into this season in an effort to give batters an extra look moving arm side. That being said, he felt soreness in his elbow in late March and is now expected to miss a big chunk of the season. It's possible that experimenting with these new grips led to inflammation, so it's unknown how his repertoire will look when he returns. Either way, he's already a very solid MLB pitcher with a great fastball and slider mix. Once he adds a true third pitch, he'll be a great Robin to Skenes' Batman. Because he's out for now, the Pirates might need to dip into AAA to pick up the slack. And if they do, boy do they have options. Jared Jones being hurt is a huge blow, but what if I told you the Pirates extracted his DNA, cloned him, and have another version of him waiting in AAA? To try and avoid suspicion, they're calling him Bubba Chandler. Chandler is the Pirates' consensus #1 prospect, and for good reason. The athletic righty could be playing both baseball and football at Clemson right now. He's also allegedly a scratch golfer, but he chose to sign with the Pirates out of high school in 2021, fully committing himself to the pitcher's mound in 2023 after a few years as a two-way player. The strikeout stuff has always been there, but the focus on pitching led to a jump in command during his second full minor league season. Chandler made it to AAA last year, and he got his best results yet, striking out over a third of the batters he faced and maintaining a sub-2 ERA in 7 starts. His strikeout minus walk rate jumped to over 22% across AA and AAA in 2024, and he generated an elite 85-mile-per-hour average exit velo in AAA. All of this, plus his fantastic repertoire, which I'll cover shortly, led to some fans thinking that Chandler would break camp with the big club in 2025. Unfortunately, he struggled in 3 spring appearances and was quickly reassigned to minor league camp. I get that he's not on the 40-man, but he's undoubtedly one of the top 5 starting pitchers in this organization. The Pirates will be without his upper 90s fastball to start the season. It's his best pitch as of now, and it's nearly identical to Jared Jones' four-seamer. From arm angle to velo and IVB, it's already a quality MLB caliber fastball. Chandler loves using it in the upper third of the zone, where he's generated a ton of whiffs in the minors. I wouldn't be surprised if batters are able to ambush him in MLB, but Chandler has the potential to keep batters off that fastball even better than Jones because of his new best secondary. His changeup sat in the upper 80s last year and as high as 92 miles per hour this spring, completely falling off the plate arm side with over 16 inches of run on average. It should generate both whiffs and a ton of weak contact as long as he's locating it well. Chandler's bullet slider is still a work in progress, but it has a ceiling similarly high to Jones's slider, sitting in the upper 80s and touching the 90s. It's his go-to secondary for righties. It doesn't have amazing glove side break, more akin to a cutter in that sense, but it gets decent drop for a relatively high velocity offering. There's potential for Chandler to expand his repertoire just as Skenes did, maybe add a sweeper to contrast his bullet slider, but his ceiling with his 3 main pitches is high enough to be an even more complete version of Jones. His minor league results last year were a bit better than Jones's in 2023, and again, Chandler is just 22 years old with 2 full pitching seasons under his belt. He's already knocking on the door to the bigs, and at the rate he's developed so far, he'll be a big name soon after his debut, whenever that may be. Unlike Jones and Chandler, Thomas Harrington is a college arm without an elite fastball. When it comes to prospects, I'm usually looking for the high stuff, high ceiling arms like the former two, but if there's ever a prospect with subpar stuff that'll make it in this league, it's Harrington. He relies on a deep repertoire of decent to great secondaries, paired with fantastic command, to limit damage and walks without missing many bats. In nearly 120 innings of work in the minors last year, Harrington walked just 19 batters. He also only allowed 9 homers, and kept both his ERA and FIP in elite territory. He has a 5-pitch mix, and his fastball might be the worst of the 5. It sits at 93, and it wouldn't be that effective if he didn't have a deep deep bag to go along with it. In my diagnosis, Harrington's best pitch is his changeup, which he throws in the mid-80s with a very low spin. It sits on the same horizontal path as his fastball, but the bottom completely falls out, generating more whiffs than any of his other pitches. It's an elite offering to lefties and still works well against righties. Harrington's ability to locate his fastball on the arm side of the plate sets up this pitch perfectly. His main plan of attack against lefties is rounded out by an inner edge cutter. It's not an elite pitch, but it gives lefties something to worry about on the inner half of the plate. Against righties, Harrington deploys a nasty sweeper, which breaks damn near a 1.5 foot glove side at its best. It's his best pitch in terms of stuff plus despite not generating many whiffs. It keeps righties off balance and leads to a lot of soft contact and called strikes. His last offering is a curveball, which drops a ton compared to his sweeper. He tends to use it to steal strikes now and then, but only throws it about 5% of the time. All in all, Harrington is one of the few control freak prospects remaining in the modern game, and I think he can make it work. Allowing next to no walks is already a huge plus. As long as he continues limiting extra base hits at the highest level, he will succeed as the style of pitcher your dad pretends Greg Maddux was. Harrington was just recalled for his first MLB start at the time I'm writing this. I'll definitely keep an eye on him, and I'll be rooting for him throughout the year. Braxton Ashcraft is widely seen as the Pirates' second best pitching prospect. He certainly has a higher ceiling than Harrington, though he's probably the riskiest of the arms I've covered so far. Drafted back in 2018, Ashcraft's development has been set back by the cancellation of the 2020 minor league season, as well as Tommy John surgery in 2021. He's only thrown 235 minor league innings in 7 years, and nerve issues in his forearm continued that trend last season. But as I love to say, baseball development is non-linear, and injury proneness only exists until a player stops getting hurt. Ashcraft is older than the others on this list, but his stuff is undeniable. He gets good velocity on his fastball, sitting in the mid to upper 90s, but it's more of a dead zone offering compared to the other great fastballs on this list. Ashcraft's solid whiff and strikeout numbers come from his breaking balls. He has a hard slider that gets good glove side break without much drop. Paired with a loopier curveball that sits in the low 80s, his breaking balls generate both whiffs and weak contact. Ashcraft has worked on his changeup this offseason, as well as adding a distinct sinker to give himself more arm side options. He fills up the strike zone a ton, hardly walking any batters, but that four-seamer will get hit hard in the bigs, since it already got hit pretty hard in the minors. Ashcraft may need to rely on his secondaries even more. If the changeup and sinker become viable options to pair with his breaking balls, he will be a great middle rotation starter. The final and most important piece is health. Can Ashcraft go out there and throw 160 innings this year? And if he can, will he sustain his velocity and break the whole season? Since he's a bit older, this year is probably more important for Ashcraft than any of the other guys we've covered so far. All he has to do to make this Pirates roster is string together a few healthy AAA starts, and I'm anticipating big things. Before I mention the last few intriguing arms, if you like my content, please subscribe. Most of you aren't subscribed. It's free, it only takes a click, and it helps me out a ton. We're going to be approaching 6 figures very soon, and I appreciate every single last one of you who clicks that button. Thanks. We've already covered a full rotation worth of starting pitching, and that's without even touching on Mitch Keller, who's a very solid MLB starter under team control through 2028. But the Pirates farm runs even deeper than that. Hunter Barco was coming off Tommy John surgery when the Pirates drafted him out of University of Florida in 2022. He's ran his sinker up to 97 miles per hour this spring with fantastic run and ride, and he pairs it with a solid slider for lefties and good splitter for righties. He hasn't thrown much above high A ball, but based on his repertoire, I could see him as a reliever in the future. I'm not sure he could sustain his high velocity as a starter, but he'll be able to sit 97 with his sinker out of the pen. If everything goes right for him this year, maybe I'll change my mind, but he's very talented either way. A few other Pirates minor leaguers include 6'5" righty Levi Sterling, who they picked 37th overall last year. He's set to make his pro debut this summer. Anthony Solomato had a down 2024, but he had pedigree going into that season. Him and his funky mechanics look to bounce back this year. Their biggest wild card is the 19-year-old Ugandan David Matoma, who throws absolute cheddar. If any of these guys develop over the next few years, the Pirates' already great staff will be getting reinforcements around 2027 or 2028. These last 20 minutes weren't all to say that the Pirates have 10 current or future star pitchers. Obviously, a lot of these guys just won't work out for one reason or another. That's the nature of prospects in general, but we already know Skenes is elite. And Jones is a good mid-rotation piece at worst when he's healthy. Even if less than half the prospects I've covered in this video fulfill their potential, the Pirates should have one of the top rotations in the NL from 2026 through the end of this decade. But the real reason I've brought you all together for this video is that even if things all go right on the pitching side, the way the Pirates are currently operating, that still won't be enough. And the reason is fairly simple. Pittsburgh hasn't had a good lineup since 2014. They haven't had a lineup in the top half of the league since 2016. Their lineup has been bottom 5 in WRC Plus each season since 2020. It's projected to be near the bottom of the league again this year, and there are next to no reinforcements on their way. Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz are just about the only position players they've developed in recent years. Guys like Henry Davis, Endy Rodriguez, and Ke'Bryan Hayes are just a few of their recent highly ranked prospects who haven't developed into good hitters. And their farm of position-playing prospects is about as shallow as their pitching is deep. An organization with this much talent on the way should be able to build up a lineup at least decent enough to make the team competitive. Whether that's through development, trades, or free agency, but the front office's ineptitude has failed on all three of those fronts so far. I'll cover GM Ben Harrington shortly, because his process has been a disaster, but the problems run even deeper than the front office. To introduce you to the main culprit, I've brought on a special guest much more familiar with the plight of Pirates Nation.
Mention the name Bob Nutting to anyone in Pittsburgh. I dare you. If the word good is mentioned in that sentence, you're getting thrown off the Clemente faster than an O'Neal Cruz throw to first. The lightning rod of the buccos himself. Billboards, angry radio calls, pictures taken with teenagers donning Sell the Team t-shirts. Nothing screams despair in this city more than this man and that face. It's been a broken record for almost 2 decades. Bob inherited the team from his dad, G. Ogden, a man who made his fortune in newspapers. Through a series of deals, Nutting would secure majority control of the Pirates in 2007. Taking over for Kevin McClatchy. Kevin's only value to the Pirates was pissing away his grandpa's money. The less said about him, the better. It was a sale in name only. What remained was the same old shit since the early 90s. First and foremost, Mr. Nutting doesn't care about winning. He's a businessman through and through. As long as people are coming to the ballpark, opposing fan or not, waiting in line during Dollar Dog Night, he's fine with it all. That honestly leads to an incredible experience at PNC Park. If you're not into Pirates baseball. For example, first base is a massive hole that could use someone like Pete Alonso, but that would cost money. Instead, it's up to Goodwill to pick up Spencer Horwitz. This is the Pirates' MO. You need surgery to fix a hernia, but they'll only cover bashing it back in with a hammer without anesthesia. Their cheapness on the open market is notorious. Guess who their last multi-year deal was given to? Ivan Nova. Back in 2016. All Pittsburgh has to offer are half measures and well wishes. Do you seriously expect Nutting to compete with Daddy Steve for free agents? With an empire of dying small-town newspapers? Don't make me laugh. Now, I'd be a liar if I didn't say Nutting's done some good for the Pirates. He reinvigorated investment into their Latin American operations, opening a state-of-the-art facility there in the late 2000s. He does tremendous work with Pirates charities. He doesn't take a salary from the team. He keeps a very low profile and allows the people he hires to do their jobs. Well, maybe that's not a good thing in certain situations. Yeah, it's pretty dire. The thing you have to realize is that this has little chance of changing in the future. Bob has no interest in selling the team. He's been on record saying that he wants to give the franchise to his daughters in the future. Multiple high-profile offers over the years have been rebuffed. And why would he give this up? The Pirates offer him a steady stream of 7-figure profits per year. Perhaps up to $20 million a year if the cards fall right. Although with the revelation that the Pirates are losing money recently, that might change. Yes, the Pirates have also been a victim of a lapsed RSN deal. They've had to combine with the Pens in this endeavor, costing them tens of millions of dollars in the process. Which is why they've had to tighten up the purse strings even further. Feel the goddamn magic.
Thanks for the help, Tree. There's a ton I can say about the Pirates process. or lack thereof. The shoestring budget is certainly a huge issue, but Bob Nutting is far from the only cheap owner. Ben Cherington's in his 6th year as Pirates GM, and Pittsburgh hasn't finished above 4th place in a relatively weak division in that time. The Cleveland Guardians are a great barometer for how a team in similar circumstances can still succeed with the right people in charge. Cleveland is only a few hours up the road, and they run a similar payroll as the Pirates each year. They haven't won a World Series in forever, but their longest playoff drought since the Division Series era began in 1994 is 5 years. In that time, they've never once finished last in their division, and they've won 3 pennants. In that same time span, Pittsburgh has finished in last place 13 times. They have just 3 playoff appearances and 3 playoff game wins, and there's no mystery as to why that's the case. Out of each team's top-ranking front office official, other than Ben Cherington, only one has worked for the Pirates. It's Houston Astros GM Dana Brown, who last scouted for the Pirates in 2002. 7 of the 30 top-ranking officials have worked for Cleveland at some point, mostly as scouts or assistant GMs. 4 have worked for Tampa, who has an even tighter budget. The lack of scouting and roster-building talent is why we consistently get moves like trading 3 high-ceiling prospects for Chris Archer, or buying IKF and Brian De La Cruz at the deadline after losing out on Jazz Chisholm. O'Neal Cruz is one of the only good hitters they've developed in the last decade, and he's currently costing the team games because he's trying to learn how to play center field as a major league center fielder, and the only reason they've moved him off shortstop was to make room for IKF, who sucks. Cherington traded away Starling Marte, Josh Bell, Joe Musgrove, Jameson Taillon, Clay Holmes for next to nothing. The only production he got from all of those trades combined was 3 good years out of David Bednar. This past offseason, knowing the NL Central stunk, and knowing his seat was hot, Cherington's biggest move was trading for Spencer Horwitz and his broken wrist. Pham, Andrew Heaney, Tim Meza, Adam Frazier, and Caleb Ferguson were the big signings of the offseason. If this was a team with no chance this year, I'd understand not spending. But this team would fight for a division title this year with only a few additional bats. Even if that wasn't viable financially, just sign 1 good free agent to a multi-year deal so you have 1 less position to worry about next year. Anthony Santander signed for under $15 million per year. Go after a guy like Gleyber Torres, Michael Conforto, Jorge Polanco, any low-cost, high-upside bat who isn't closer to 40 years old than 25. Harmon Majinski, one of the few good relievers on the team, is starting games because the team wants an extra year of service out of Chandler. I can't imagine the frustration Pirates fans deal with watching these pitchers in their early 20s dominate while their offense, defense, and front office fumble around aimlessly. Ultimately, the Pirates have 5 years to build a team with Skenes. That is your window, Bob, and if managed properly, that's enough time. They have plenty of options, but I would not trust Ben Cherington at the helm to execute any of them. 5 years is enough time to add to this core, and it's enough time to contend, but it's not enough time to tear it all down and rebuild from the ground up. Nutting needs to open the checkbook just a tad and replace Cherington with a general manager who can put together an average lineup by the end of the decade. With their pitching, all they need is average. Bob, please, I beg you, do anything within your power to prove to Skenes that you can build a team around him. It shouldn't feel impossible for a top 10 talent with this much gravity to stay with this team long term. Get him to the playoffs and make him a real extension offer. The clock is ticking. Shout out to my channel members Misty, Zach, Adam, Epic, Alex, and Mammoth, who got to watch this video early. If you want to support my channel financially, shoutouts, early access, access to my spreadsheets, and more, hit that join button down below for just $4 a month. Also, a special shout out to Pitch Profiler, where I did a ton of research for this video. Check him out on Twitter at The Pitch Profiler, or visit his website mlbpitchprofiler.com. If you enjoyed this video, you'll probably love his content. Thanks so much for watching.